It is so hot, y'all. Welcome to summer. Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your girl, Miss Abby 94, also known as the black girl who watches The Bachelorette, and you already know what it is. I'm back at it again with the back at it again with another recap. You already know what you gotta do. You got to stay tuned. Stay tuned. Alrighty, y'all, welcome back to my channel. You already know what it is. It's your girl Abby Saya, also known as Miss Abby 94, also known as the black girl who watches The Bachelor / Bachelorette. As you can tell, I know the obvious elephant in the room is this is my first recap of this season. I do apologize for the delays. If you know and you've been keeping up with the channel, I've been pretty much live streaming every single episode so far. So in my mind, I kind of used that as a supplement, and I felt like it was like overlapping content. But a good big sister of mine did remind me that people were a fan of these recaps. So I definitely want to stay true to those who really love these and try my best to do them. And so guess what? Your girl is back. Okay? I wasn't gone too long, never gone for long. Just know that, okay? This is week 4 that we've made it to, so definitely let's get into this recap because there's a lot to talk about. I think this week I really came to the conclusion that I'm just not really feeling this season. I've tried to give the guys the benefit of the doubt. I've tried to give Becca the benefit of the doubt. I've tried to push through, and of course I'm still gonna watch it, but I think I've just been feeling disheartened and disconnected, and I couldn't really figure out why, what it was, but now I could just break it down for y'all right now. I just think that overall the cast is quite weak. And when I say that, it's not offense to any of the guys who are on the cast. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I think these guys are terrible, horrible looking, you know, whatever the case may be. I just think that this group of guys is not suitable for Becca. Like, I just don't think it's a group of Becca's men. Like, I feel like every single guy there, I'm just like, I feel like I'm really trying to pull myself along and pull myself to see the little bits of connection they might have, but it does not feel natural with, for me, any of them. I feel like the ones that I kind of like just because they're the best out of the worst. Fuck, I said it. Whatever, I said it. There's just been something missing for me. I think connections and emotions and all of that has been missing for me. And this week is when I really figured it out. And I just said, I can't really pretend. I'm still going to watch. I'm still going to give it a chance and hope that better connections do develop. But I'm struggling with these guys. There's not overwhelmingly like a lot of picks to choose from. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there is a connection, they're few and far between. Now that I've gotten my overall feelings of the season out of the way, I could just get into this recap and tell y'all what happened in week 4. Now, the episode starts with them picking up with the rose ceremony that they so annoyingly left us off at last episode. You know, last episode at the end, we did not get a rose ceremony. So they pick back up, and we are seeing the guys kind of discussing how they're feeling about getting a rose. So we see a conversation between Blake and Becca, the first thing that kind of pops up in the episode, and Blake pulls her aside, and instantaneously I'm noticing that she's super into Blake. Like, if y'all really watch closely, she's always just lingering on his every word. With Blake, she really likes to look into his eyes. She really likes to internalize their conversation. So if you're ever watching, she kind of would be like looking at him like, oh, you was so fun. They start really talking about how many kids do you want? And Becca's like, oh, I want 3. He's like, oh, I think I want like 4 to 5. And she was just like, 4 to 5? What? From who? From who, sir? And that says a lot, because she was taken aback, like 5 kids, because, you know, she started imagining herself pushing out them babies. And she said, who's pushing out 5? I got 3 for you. Find the other 2. I think in that little moment that they had to let me know how into Blake she is, and also how much Blake is so much different than I thought. He's clearly like portraying himself as like a family man and someone who's really serious. So I think in this moment, I learned a little bit more about him and his intentions. So definitely keeping an eye out for that connection. We see the guys are all together and they are talking about David. We know last episode, David fell off of the bed, his bunk bed, top bunk, and landed. Sorry, that's not funny. Oh. He fell off of his top bunk and landed on his face, and it was a cliffhanger because they made it so dramatic. They were like, he's in the ICU, he's getting all these procedures done, but then they call him and he's like, oh yeah, I just got a few stitches. Like, I was just like, ABC, Bachelorette, they are so dramatic. Clearly, it's definitely a safety concern that he fell off the bed, and I was definitely like, boy, you better get your coin off of that. But at the same time, him being in the hospital and them hyping it up, it gave room for the guys to comment and really critique. In this moment, with the guys sitting around waiting for the rose ceremony, we hear the guys discussing, ooh, what is David gonna look like? What? Do you think his nose will be broken? Oh, his face might be mangled. I'm just like, please find something to do. We see Jordan decides to leave the group and stop talking about David and go try to finesse and talk to Becca. Every time Jordan goes to talk to Becca, it's always to him. It's just, it's so clear to me that it's not real. It's not real. It's obvious that he's a producer's pick. It's obvious that he's here to say the most outlandish things, the most crazy one-liners, the most Corinne-like, you know, vibe. At least Corinne, I feel like it was a little more natural, like that's how she really felt, and she knew she had to play her part up. But him, I feel like he wrote all of this out. It's like a script for him. Like, it's just like so corny. It's a joke. It's a joke, and it's like I laugh sometimes, but then the other half of the time I'm like, just please go, just I'm getting a headache. After she talks to Jordan, David does come back. The big reveal is made, and really all David really has is like a couple of scratches on his face. Like, he didn't have any bandages, he didn't have a black eye, he didn't have any swelling that I noticed. He literally had like 2 little like obvious scratches, and I'm just like, ABC, that's why they will never get me. Somebody might actually be hurt in some previews for a new season, and I'm literally just gonna be like, okay, I'm never going to fall for it, because the man had no swelling, no broken nose, no nothing. His face, scratches, it was scratches. Of course, Jordan's phony ass in the confessional running his mouth talking about, oh my God, his face is so mangled. It looks like a time warp. His face is over there and the time clock is over there. He's just saying, like, I give him that. That bit was a little bit funny, but he's just doing the most. And I'm just like, David literally has 2, it looks like a cat scratched his face. Like, chill out. Let's stop talking about it. And it's clear that they just wanted to be precautious and let him go get his face checked out, because like nothing happened. Like, really? That was all that covering his face. Bye. Just bye. So obviously he's back. The guys, they try to tell him what happened and check in with him, even though they was talking that mad shit in the last scene, which I find hilarious. Becca comes into the room and she's like, oh my God, David! Hi, David! Okay, sis. So she pulls him aside and she's basically asking him how he's doing, how he's feeling. And he's just like, I feel great, but I really wanted to be a part of this rose ceremony. I really wanted to come back because I feel like we're in a good spot and I want to keep progressing and dating you. She leaves the room and she goes and grabs a rose, and she comes back and she says, you know what? I'm pretty solid on how I'm feeling, and I do feel something here, and I do want to continue to build on it. So I would hate to put you through a long night of the rose ceremony. So I want to give you your rose rose now so you could go rest. The chemistry I feel between her and David is pretty much non-existent. I literally, when I see him, I think of like a cute substitute teacher or something, someone you see in passing and you think, oh, they're so nice. Oh, David, like, oh, it's like a cute vibe. And you know, this is not the first time I feel like Becca has given a pity rose. So I think the key for these guys, if they feel like, you know, they're on the brink of elimination, they just need to run into a wall, fall off of a bed, cut their arm, just something to get to the hospital, because that's pretty much guaranteed other guys' roses. And I think if you're in a pinch, I see absolutely nothing with David. I have no reason to believe that she gave him that rose because of chemistry, because from what I'm looking at, it's pretty much been non-existent. When they see David come back with that rose, pretty much some people are side-eyeing and looking a little uncomfortable. Of course they're gonna pan to see what Jordan is feeling. He's not looking little mad, he's looking big. Do you understand? Big mad. He was shook, and David was so geeked. You could tell David was, this is like probably David's like best life right now. He said, you might be a supermodel or a model, but I got a rose, bitch. I was just like, you know what? Let him flex for this episode. I was happy that David got to get his little shine on real quick on Jordan's ass, because he be trying it. We're starting to hear about the guys giving their reasons for why they are confident in the relationship. One that really sticks out to me is Jean Blanc. He really starts saying that he feels strongly about Becca and that he's so excited to see where things go, and he really feels like they've started off well and he can't wait to progress, and he just doesn't see any reason for not getting a rose. Colton is mentioning how they have a pretty solid connection and he feels like he's pretty confident, but that some other guys might not be so confident. We're just hearing some little quotes from the guys, a few of the guys saying in their confessionals why they believe they're getting a rose tonight. So finally they all get lined up, and we're gonna find out, finally, in the rose ceremony that should have happened last week, we're about to find out who the first couple of guys of the episode are going home. So they get lined up, and we see Becca talking about how she's really excited and pretty confident in this group of guys, and she's, quote, ready to go through the ups and downs of the process to find her man. Just something to note, Nick was in the front row in a green and gray tracksuit, and I was just like, sir, your length in this game is pretty short too. That's all I could think of. But anyway, she calls a bunch of guys' names, and the two she does not call are Mike. I believe the long hair redheaded one that I did call would be going home around this time. So sorry, Mike. I really can't even say much about you. I don't remember what you did. But you're in company with a lot of your other castmates, because I don't remember what they did either. So I have not much to say about you, but that you have long hair and you maybe were on the date at one point. Good luck. And the second person to go home was Ryan. Again, another face that was there that I thought might have something going for him or a connection that could have happened. And he literally, what did he do this season? I can't think of one Ryan moment, besides the fact that I nicknamed him the one that could be like a Kennedy, born in the wrong time looking ass. Like what else did he do? So the rose ceremony is over. Becca announces that there's now going to be a location change. So y'all know I tend to drag the Bachelor and Bachelorette on their budget, because you know they like to be skimpy, the dates be dry. I don't think they're using their allocated money for such a big show. And so I always get excited when I hear location change. You know, I'm like, where y'all taking me? Where y'all taking us? Where we going? Where we going, sis? And she goes, we're going to Park City, Utah. And I was just like, okay. Park City? I love that place. So Becca and the guys are going to Park City, Utah, and the guys are cheering like they're so excited. It's hilarious to me. Maybe they're just excited to get out of that bachelor mansion. I don't know what the case may be, but when I heard that, yeah, let's go to Park City. The guys and Becca arrive in Park City. We see them in what looks to be like a cabin. It looks like they're in the mountains. There's a lot of snow. It's really gorgeous. It's the winter time. That's one thing that I will say. The scenery is quite gorgeous. Lots of wood, lots of green, lots of snow. They definitely look like the change of scenery has definitely brought out some more energy. So if for nothing else, I'm excited to see what Park City can do for the rest of this season. It's already been announced that Garrett is getting the first one-on-one date of week 4, and they're talking about, you know, how they think that's gonna go. Becca comes in to pick Garrett up and she discusses with the guys a little bit. I don't think whatever she was talking to them about was of much importance, because the entire time she's watching Garrett in the corner of her eye. She's tracking him with her eyes, and that just lets me know that you could be a room full of people, not even just people, guys who are here to be your suitors, and you're still looking for that one person. And just let me know that while she's really into this guy, and even though she's about to spend the whole day with him, even just for a few minutes with other guys, she still has her heart and her mind on watching him. So that's just something I noticed. So they leave and they arrive on the street, they get out, and the first thing that Becca does is she jumps on Garrett. And when I mean jumps on that man, she wanted to climb him like a tree. She was holding on for dear life. That woman is saying to this man, "You're mine. You're mine." She jumped on him. She wrapped herself up around him, her legs, her arms. She was hugging him so tight. I'm like, girl, I'm worried for you, sis. Their first stop is in this sort of costume shop of some sort. They start trying on a bunch of goofy outfits and they're just laughing, having funny little conversations. So he's hopping in this little, like, these shoes, and she's chasing after him. It just looks like they're doing little funny races and just trying on clothes and being really silly and goofy. Then we see them walking on the street and they're just having these deep conversations. She starts mentioning it in her confessionals how Garrett makes her feel really comfortable and he reminds her so much of home. And I think that says a lot. Just her mentioning that one of the contestants reminds you of home, that is the closest thing you could come to with saying, I could see myself with you. You also slightly remind me of my dad. And he's just like, obviously super excited to hear that, and it's just like, you know what, I'm having so much fun too. I feel so comfortable with you already, and I just love where this is going. So they're having those little cutesy, lovey-dovey conversations just walking down the street. So this is not even midway through the date. So the date is clearly actively progressing, and it'll be kind of cool to see where these feelings they have for each other lead for the rest of the date. No other reason to not believe that they don't walk to their next destination, which is bobsledding with 2 U.S. silver medalist bobsledders. Now, y'all know, like I said, I like to drag the budget, and I'm not one to take anyone's accomplishments from them. You know what? Silver, bronze, gold, penny, nickel, whatever it is you won that with your own merit. My only, problem was that these 2 kind ladies mentioned that they won the silver medal in 06. That's a little dated for me, just a tad. But again, your accomplishments are forever. So you know what, Bachelorette, save the coin when you can. Okay. They explained to Becca and Garrett that they obviously are silver medalists. They won in the Olympics, and that they were teammates. And then later on down the line, that bond formed into a relationship, and now they're married, and this is what they love to do. And so they tell them basically that they're going to be bobsledding at some really, I forget, it's like two 2 G's, 4 G's. It's the speed of however fast this bobsled is going. That's the speed they measure it in. And Becca's just like, okay, so that sounds pretty fast. What happens if, you know, we don't follow your instructions, you know, to the T? You know, like what's the worst thing that could happen? And the lady's just like, well, death. Okay. What did you say the instructions were again? Becca and Garrett and these 2 silver medalists get in their bobsled and they are speeding down the, I guess it would be the ramp, and they are screaming, and it looks to me like Becca and Garrett are having a really good time and that they stayed intact and stayed in that bobsled because they knew what was good for them. We also get a little clip of Becca in her confessional. His smile is just everything, and how she really believes that his smile lights up his whole face, and it really lights up, you know, her apparently, because she's gushing and she's just, she has it bad, y'all. She is gushing about this man in every aspect of, like, every aspect of his personality and his appearance. She's mentioned that she loves how tall he is. She loves his smile. She loves his, you know, goofiness. She thinks he's so cute. She's mentioned basically his personality, how funny he is, how, you know, honest he is, how emotional he is. She just mentioned so many aspects of who he is, and that just leads me to believe that she's thought about this a lot and that this is her front runner. And as much as that sucks to hear, that's just what it is. We get a scene change and we see them at dinner. So usually dinner is when we're gonna get into the good juicy stuff, and we definitely get some juicy tea, y'all. At dinner they start talking about more about what they discussed earlier. Becca again mentions how much Garrett reminds her of her dad and how she really feels like her dad would like him. And I was just like, damn, like she has mentioned that quite a bit of times, and she's trying to let Garrett know that I see a future with you. And this is when I think Becca, she's in La La Land right now. She says to herself, okay, let me ask him some tough questions. So she goes and she says, okay, Garrett, what's been your like past relationship? Like, what was that like? Why are you single, basically? So just listen to how he recounts this love once. So he says, well, I fell in love once in my life, actually when I was in college. We started dating for a while, and we were getting really interested in each other. We were very adventurous. We would go out, and that dating at 23 led to me getting married to her. After a while, I realized that it wasn't gonna work. She wasn't the right fit. She wasn't the right person, and it ultimately led to us divorcing. You said what? The progression of the way he explained this relationship, you would think it was just gonna end on a, oh, and like I cheated, or she cheated, or we just broke up after 3 months. Just the nonchalancy of the way he's explaining this relationship. You would not expect him to say that I fell in love once and then I got married and then we got divorced all within the span of like 30 seconds. And she's just like, so Becca goes, you know, how long were you married for? And I think he said they were married for like a year and some change or something like that. And it was throughout the relationship and the marriage that he realized that she just wasn't the right person, and they rushed into marriage basically. And obviously this is going to be a red flag, at least I hope, a red flag for Becca. Like, y'all are pretty much in that situation. You're expediting your dating process. You're pretty much expecting this man or one of these men to get down on one knee and propose to you after a few weeks of knowing you. And you pretty much want to get married to him. And basically he's telling her, been there, done that, and here I am. And so she's looking like, no. She's looking definitely defeated, and for good reason, because what? Why didn't it work? And he basically, from what I got from the footage, was trying to blame the breakup on the ex. He was like, she would tear me down just to build me back up, just like she was like emotionally abusive. I'm always a little bit leery of believing stories like this one, just because when someone poses a breakup, I think there's beauty in being diplomatic when it comes to speaking of an ex, especially on TV. When someone is so quick to say the reason something didn't work out was because the ex did this, this, and that, my first instinct is always, what did you do? What part did you have? Because if someone cannot mention that, you know what, it was my fault, we rushed into things, I didn't put my all into it, and I started losing interest, and I started losing feelings, and I realized it needed to end. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is kind of diplomatic. But when you're just so quick to be like, it was that, she did this to me, and maybe that happened, so don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it didn't happen, and I'm not trying to, you know, diminish that, but I'm just saying that it always raises my alarms, like, no, start, rewind. What did you do? What is the full story? And I just don't feel like that's the full story. And it's obviously concerning to hear that he had a whole ass marriage. And the fact that it hasn't even been like teased to this point, it literally was a bomb drop. And I was just like, are we just gonna, we're just gonna act like he didn't just say he was married? It looked like she was struggling with that information. She pretty much says that, okay, thank you for telling me this. I'm sad that you had to go through that. And like, I'm just happy that you're here and that you told me that and we can move forward. And I was just like, okay, sis, this is what we're doing. I mean, I don't expect her to send him home at this point, but just basically saying you were so strong for going through that without really truly knowing all of the facts of the story. I guess that's the right thing to do in that sense, because he's what's in front of you, but it is cause for concern for me, and it is what it is. She does give him the rose. They do go off and do the little cutesy, dancey moment, whatever, and it's clear to me at this point that Garrett has a very solid connection with Becca. She's so enamored with him, and it's going to be very, very difficult for a lot of these men to come close to rivaling their connection. Now it's group date time. So the guys are all sitting around, and again we hear them talking about why they should get a one-on-one. We're hearing Colton, who's mentioning he really would like a one-on-one. He feels like they're in a good place. John, our cute old friend John, is finally getting some tidbits this episode, and he's saying he really thinks he could use a one-on-one just because he's not the type to really come out of his shell on group dates, and he would love to just build on what he feels they have. Then again, we're hearing Jean Blanc mentioning how strong he feels his connection is with Becca. He is telling John he is so confident that the next date one-on-one card that comes is for him, because that is where they are in their relationship. So the date card comes and the names start getting read. Basically, it's a group date, and 13 men's names were read, and not on that list was our friend Will's. Definitely shocking, because he's been quite quiet these past couple of episodes, but it lets me know that there's something that maybe we haven't seen yet in their connection, and makes me excited to see what's brewing between them, but not before this group date, so we'll get to that. Group date starts. The guys are pretty much walking up to what looks like just open area in the woods, a clearing of some sorts, and they're all in lumberjack outfit. They're in plaid. So we see Becca talking about how this is her biggest group date that she's had thus far, and it's going to be interesting because it's her first big group date. So they get to the clearing and they meet yet another couple who claims that they're a lumberjack couple. They do this for a living. They, you know, break down logs, maple syrup, all the stereotypical things that we think, and that in this group date they are going to be competing for Becca's love through a lumberjack challenge. We hear Becca talking about how she loves lumberjacks or lumberjack challenges because she used to see them in her local Minnesota State Fair. She's really excited to see which guy is going to come out on top and who's going to be the lumberjack to her lumberjill. She said it, not me. the guys are rehearsing what they're going to be doing. So we see the guys have to lift this, like, I think they said 400-pound log. They have to lift it and flip it over. So we're seeing some people who are really breezing through this. Colton got this. He is doing it like, what's good? Like, no, easy. Lincoln is having a hard time lifting it at first, but he does flip the log over and gets into a rhythm and gets good at it. A few of the other guys also are doing okay, but of note, John is definitely starting to show some strength here. He pulls off that log and he has pretty much all the guys cheering for him. So it looks like it's going to be a good date for John. They basically have to slice a log with a partner. So they're practicing that. And the third station is they have to throw an axe on a target. So they start practicing that. One thing that I did notice was that Becca has a really good aim. And she's clearly done this before because her axe and all of these practices keep hitting the target. I'm just like, play with her if you want to. You saw how she threw that axe? You do not want to be her ex. The fourth and final station is actually climbing a 50-foot or something, a very tall pole, and they have to get to a certain point, and that would be the completion. So it looks like the guys have been trained by the lumberjack and lumberjill, and they are ready for the competition, y'all. Who's gonna come out on top? They start off, they're looking strong. Jean Blanc is getting in there. He's turning that log over. Colton is as well. He's blown through the first station. Nick is also, you know, trying to keep up with everything. The guys are really getting in there. But then we kind of fast forward to station 2 and we see our guy John is going at it. He is cutting that log so easily. He breezes through the target station. And he's pretty much blowing ahead of all of the guys. No one can really catch up. We do see one of his competitors who gets close. I forget who it was, but John is pretty much ahead of everyone. And I think he's shocking the entire house, including Becca. Everybody pretty much abandons what they were doing and just starts cheering him on because they realize they're not going to catch him. He's at the 4th station and he's climbing up that however tall pole. John gets to the top and wins the challenge. Oh my God. I think cheers were heard around the world last night for John because he was like the underdog who you want to win. So excited for John winning that, and he gets a little hug from Becca as his prize and a little trophy. So yay! We are so happy for John. Then we see the guys are pretty much done with this lumberjack and lumberjill life, and they're heading off to the cocktail party. At the cocktail party is where things... Becca is really in a jovial mood. She's really excited to talk to all of the guys she has here, and we know that a rose is on the table. We see her talk to Jason, who from up until this point, we heard her last episode say that Jason, she has a little crush on him, and for whatever reason, even though she forgot his name, which I find quite ironic. She can have a crush but still not know who it is. You know what? It is what it is. Love is complicated. Sue her. But I think she just continuously keeps reassuring Jason about how much she likes him and how much she's into him and how it's like almost like unexpected, like this secretive feeling that she has for him. So we're definitely seeing a connection with her and Jason, and they're just continuously building on their connection. Then we see her talking to John. She's reliving his, you know, victory moment. He did a really good job, and they're just really having a cutesy conversation. Obviously, this was a moment for John. So we're wondering, could this win and this progression equal a rose? We're hoping, but we'll have to wait and see. One person that's really having a time is Jean Blanc. He's been pretty much expressing how he feels all episode, and he said countless times how he feels like they have such a connection and that this is his episode to move their relationship forward. This is his time. He doesn't want them to fall behind. They need to push forward. So I have my guard up because I'm like, he's mentioned a lot about where he thinks they should be and what he thinks they should be doing, and not so much about how he really is feeling. So I'm just praying at this point that John does not shoot himself in the foot, and that he doesn't keep just saying things, just, you know, just feeling like he needs to be in a certain place just because it's a certain week. We see John and Becca talking, and he's just like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm so happy to be here. And it looks like, you know, they're doing decent, but he does say, I have a gift for you. As I got this in, let's say, France. I don't remember exactly where, but he says, I got this cologne for you, and we named it Becca Blanc. And I was just like, okay, that's cute. The gift is cute. The name, we could have not named it, but that's okay. And she definitely was cheesing hard over that gift. Okay, it looks like their time at that point was decent, and that she liked the gift, and that things are okay with Jean Blanc at this point. So she does talk to Connor. Everything is going well. And we see back with the group of guys, Jean Blanc is basically saying, I don't know. I don't know if that was enough. I feel like I want to go back in and talk with her. I'm not really satisfied with how we ended that. And so he has every intention of going back in and talking to Becca. Okay. So he goes back and he basically interrupts her talking to someone else. I think at this point, based on the body language from Becca, it looked like she was already kind of on edge, and I think he should have read the signs and just let the shit rock. But instead, he went in again, and we'll soon understand why that was a terrible, terrible move. Just terrible. So John goes back in. They have a seat, and he starts saying, you know what? I'm so happy to be here. I just couldn't hold this in anymore. I just wanted to let you know that I am falling for you. I know it's been soon, but you are just so, I know it's early, but you are just someone that has intrigued me and caught my eye, and I really like everything about you. I just didn't want to leave the night without telling you where I'm at. And she was just looking at him like, are you serious? She literally was looking at him like you're joking, and I know you're lying. You're lying right to my face. But she didn't want to say that. But she's just looking at him like really, boy, you really trying to play me right now. And I see her trying to collect her mind and see, how can I basically tell this guy I don't buy it? Like, I don't buy what you're selling me right now. But instead, she takes the kind of a different route, and she says, you know what? That's kind of weird. I mean, it's really early, and it's just unfortunate because I'm not there yet. And he was like, now he starts panicking, realizing that she's not gonna just accept that and say, oh my God, I'm so excited, thank you. Like, she's going to actually be like assessing their relationship based on his feelings. And I think this is where he's realizing, ooh, I messed up, and that was not the right thing to say to keep my ass around. So she's just like, honestly, I'm not there with you, and I don't know if it's fair to keep you if I can't see myself there with you. And he's just like, oh, no, what do you mean? What? So do you think you could get there ever at all? And she was just like, I honestly can't say that now. Basically saying, nah, bruh, can I walk you out? And I was just like, John, why did you do that? I really believe if you would have just gave her the gift, it was awkward at that point, but like it was still salvageable. You could have still, you know, stayed it through maybe next week. But this saying you're in love with her when it's so obvious that you're not, I'm just like, how could you play your cards so wrong? She starts walking him out, and he was just like, what about the gift? And I was just like, boy, be gone. I'm so mad that this beautiful black man is going out this bad. Like, it's just like, not only did he just like completely play his cards wrong. Now he's looking like a cheapskate asking for a gift back. Stop talking. You just confirmed to her that, oh yeah, you know, I didn't really like you. I didn't really even feel like I was falling in love with you, but I felt like I had to say that because I've seen the show and I'm pretty much probably gonna get the boot, seeing as how I'm black. You know, it's week 4. It's pretty much my time pretty soon. So I had to come up with a way to finesse this. So embarrassing, so awkward, and so incredibly frustrating. So obviously, she sends him packing. She's just like, I don't feel right about any of this. Becca goes back inside and she tells the guys that she is furious. She tells them she just sent him home and that he basically told her he loved her or was falling in love with her just to take it back, and that she gives them a warning. If any guy in here is lying to me or feels like, you know, they want to lie about how they feel, you should leave now. It definitely influenced Becca because she calls the night short and she tells them, none of you are getting a rose. I'll see you at the rose ceremony. Like, I can't even do this anymore. She's visibly upset, and it's kind of hard because we know Wills is getting a one-on-one to, you know, the next day, and it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that influences Will's date. So we get the next scene of Wills talking to the guys, and they basically fill him in and tell him what happened, and Wills is just like, damn. On the flip side, we see Becca in her hotel room lamenting about the whole situation as well. She is talking about how sad she feels, how it brings up a lot of negative emotions, how she just always seems to get those type of guys who tell her what she wants to hear, but they're never clear on what they actually want with her and sticking with her. And it's just like, it brought up some fears that, you know, some of these guys might not be all the way genuine with her. So she's outside waiting for Wills, and she's visibly upset. She can barely look at the camera, and she's just talking about how it's hard. It's going to be hard, but she's going to try to give her full attention to Wills. So Wills comes, she gives him a big, big, big hug, and they are just clearing the air. She tells him, I'm sure you know what happened with Jean Blanc. It really hurt me, but I'm going to try to push through today. And I just want you to give me some, basically say, bear with me because I'm going to be a mess today. They are playing in the snow. We see them just like throwing, they're having like a snowball fight. We see them throwing snowballs. Wills is purposely not throwing the ball to hit her, which I peeped and I was just like, such a gentleman. Such a gentleman, so cute. You could tell she's smiling. Her spirits are slowly getting lifted, and she's so happy and so excited, and it's really cool to see. Then we see them sit down in the snow. I'm just like, y'all couldn't get them hot chocolate inside? Becca's just like, you're such a good guy. You're such a stand-up guy. Like, you really are. Like, you just made me feel so much happier today, and you just made me feel like comfortable. And he basically says the same thing. He's like, I'm so happy that I'm on this process. I'm really so happy with everything that's happened in my life recently. He's really excited to be on this journey with her, and he feels like what they have is like a niche. Like it's very specific, and it's very fun, and it's making him really excited. And I don't know, his body language, he's kind of like, you could tell he's a little bit on the shy side. When he's talking about her, he's looking into the distance, and he's just not trying to do too much. And I think he's really trying to gauge how Becca is feeling about him before he puts himself out there. I think for whatever reason, Wills maybe has his guard up. Maybe because of the nature of the show, and you know, we see he's a black man. There's a lot of things he could be thinking. But one thing that is clear is that he is such a comforting person. He's such a spirit that you want around, a calming spirit, and he is willing to do whatever it takes to make Becca smile. And that is exactly what he does on the beginning of their date. So of course they just keep cuddling, having little conversations, and it's gonna be cool to see what they talk about later, because child, it's gonna be cool to see what they talk about later, because we know that's where the true tea is. Okay, so we see them at their dinner portion, and they are basically recounting what happened at the beginning of the day. She mentions again how much she loves being around him. She loves how funny he is to be around, how he's just such a stand-up guy, how he is so patient and understanding, and how cool it was that he was only concerned about how she was doing and making her feel better. And she's like, for those reasons, I truly believe that you are the perfect person for this date. And I'm so glad that we got to spend time together today. And just, I feel like I know you so much better. She really mentions again how Jean Blanc derailed how she was feeling. Wills comes back and says, you know what? Something similar happened to me in my past relationship. He tells her about how his ex-girlfriend, they were in a serious relationship for 3 years. He felt like that was his person. They talked about kids, they talked about families, houses, you know, getting married, all of that stuff. And around the 3-year mark, she asked him for a hall pass. And if y'all don't know what a hall pass is, is basically when your partner asks you, can I go out, you know, to have relations with other people? No strings attached. You will still be in a relationship with them, but they are allowed to have sex with other people. And Becca's like, why would she want that? And he's like, exactly. Like, why would she? For him, it was disrespectful, and it let him know that something is up with her and maybe she's not where I am in this relationship. He then goes on to mention that he caught her in a restaurant of a place that they spent several anniversaries together, and that's when he realized, damn, this girl's basically cheating on me, and everything I thought I knew about this relationship is gone. And it was basically his biggest heartbreak. That's kind of where Wills is coming from. And I think it kind of explains why he seemed kind of guarded and a little bit shy, but smooth. Like he can do enough to get her interested. But I think when it comes to that emotional connection, he does have that. He's hurting from a past relationship. Again, we don't know what he might have done in that relationship or anything, but just based on what he showed in this date today, it is clear to me that he is a big ass catch and a comforting man. And it was an unexpected date, and I was happy to see Wills get this date, because I would have never thought that he would get a one-on-one this soon, if at all. So it was really cool, and to see it go well was even better. Of course, after all of this, after all the compliments and all the breaking down of the walls that I feel like happened and him telling his past, she does offer him the rose and basically tells him that she's really excited to see where this goes. And she does say one word that I think is of note. She says that she respects him a lot. When these bachelorettes use words like respect and I admire, or wow, they intrigue me. When they use roundabout words, it's always an alarm for me of them kind of finding a nice way to give them a compliment without it being like emotionally tied. I don't know if that's the case with her and Wills, but I will say that her saying she respects him is a nice compliment. But for me, it doesn't signal deep-rooted, emotionally love feelings. Just something to note. But I think the date definitely went well, and I think half of America definitely left Team Wills tonight. Okay. We flash back to the group of guys and we see them all sitting around. Chris Harrison comes in and tells them there won't be a cocktail party. Becca knows what she wants to do, and, you know, just get ready to get lined up. We do see that some are looking quite panicked. I think the general consensus is that David really, really wants Jordan out, and so does Colton. They have been going back and forth with Jordan all episode, and we're seeing how frustrated they are with him. Colton is talking about how he feels like he's a clown and how he shouldn't be in the house with such a clown, and he's ready for him to go home. So basically the Jordan haters are stacking up, and it's clear to me that he is the villain of the season, and it'll be interesting to see if he pulls it through this rose ceremony. So we see the guys get lined up for this rose ceremony, and Becca comes in with black tulle dress. It was cute. I really wanted her to wear a necklace of some sort, but just side note. But she looked quite beautiful. She reads off a bunch of names. One's of note. David gets a rose, which I was quite shocked by. I was a little bit like, you got your pity rose first, but he got another rose. So I was like, oh, there's something that we're not seeing. So that was a bit interesting. Kristan has not gotten a rose. Nick has not gotten a rose. And Jordan has not gotten a rose. So we're waiting to see who is going to get that final rose. And after everything shakes out, Jordan secures his rose. He secures his rose, and we see that Kristan and Nick are on their way out. The only real thing I can take away from those two going home, Nick, he's the one that wore a tracksuit that tried to stand out last rose ceremony, which was at the beginning of this episode, and he made it through that one, but he's getting the boat this time. Again, I have no real memory of him, and none, like at all. Then we have Kristan, who I think was like the life of the party and clearly like super fun to be around, but I expected him to go home around this time just because I didn't see any strong chemistry between the two of them. So I wasn't too shocked by him going home, but I will say I really enjoyed him, and I think he will be a great addition to Paradise. So I'm definitely waiting to see him there. Okay. So that was pretty much the end of the episode. Obviously, guys, we're big mad with Jordan, as always, and we're probably going to get a 2-on-1 next week. David made it. Don't know how. We got a great date with Wills, a great date with Garrett, but like, whatever. Whatever. And we see that they're going to Vegas next week. So there's definitely something to look forward. I know I said I wasn't super impressed. I'm still gonna stick with this and try to figure out what's the best of this situation at this point and try to give, you know, my best observations and recaps to y'all. So definitely, oh my God, your girl is back. Your girl is back doing recaps, back like I never left. Okay. So definitely, if you like this video, please like this video. Please like. I super appreciate it. And definitely subscribe, because you know I come through with all of the tea, all of the analysis, and I know you want to continue seeing these recaps and live streams when I do those too. So leave a comment down below and tell me if you agree with my assessments or anything that I said about any of these dates or guys. And you already know what you got to do. You got to share this video with your friends, tell them to come back and hang out with me, and definitely turn those notifications on, because you never know when I'll be doing a live stream or uploading a new recap. It's so good to be back. I so love all of you, and let's pray that this season gets better. Just amen. We need you, Jesus. I will see you in my next video. Okay, y'all be good now. Bye.